If you're running a solo lawn care business or you have 2 or 3 crews, I'm going to walk you through how we think about the very best equipment and truck setup. After spending millions and millions of dollars on trucks and equipment and having tried all the brands, what we have learned, it's not about the trailer, it's not about the type of mower, it's not about the truck. The most important setup, the one that will change your life and has changed mine and many of my friends, it's not about the equipment at all. It's about getting out of the field, getting off the truck, and building the right team of people around you. But first, I'm going to tell you what we've learned after spending all this money on trucks and equipment. I'm going to give you the high-level thinking. I hope you'll stick around at the end because I want to convince you that if you get the equipment and the trucks right and you get the right set of people around you, it's a game changer. So first, let's talk equipment. We have found there are tons of great brands. There are absolutely differences. But what we've come to conclude is one of the very most important top-level decisions is who is the vendor that you're going to work with to supply your equipment. You'll probably have to try several vendors in the beginning. What I would eventually encourage you to think about is, can you pick one vendor and go all in with that vendor? In other words, you're trying out different vendors, you're trying out different equipment, and ultimately you settle on this one company is who we're going to try to run all of our business through. And the reason this will serve you is it will get you better pricing in the long term because you're running all your business through one vendor. The more business you run through one vendor, the more they will take care of you when you have an issue. The faster they'll respond to you. If you have a breakdown and you don't have the money to have a lot of backup equipment, and most people don't, they will turn your equipment for you faster because you've built a relationship with them. As an example, for years we used steel for handhelds. And we were developing a relationship with the vendor, who we still use to this day, who no longer carried steel. We switched to Red Max, specifically because we wanted to run all of our volume through this one company, and they took great care of us. And to this day, that relationship still pays off. Maybe at times a specific type of steel equipment would have been better. Yes, there was a little bit of trade-off, but on the whole, we won in a major way because, again, you want the best deal possible, you want fast service, you want parts when you need them, and you want a solution, a repair immediately. You can't afford to be down. So go all in on building a relationship. I would buy all commercial. I know some individuals who buy tools from Home Depot, like shovels and rakes and things like that, because if they break, they'll use the Home Depot warranty and they'll replace them. I'm speaking more about equipment. It is not worth, having tried all kinds of brands and tested all types of equipment, to skimp. It is better to spend the money and buy the best stuff because your number one expense in this business is your people or your time. There's nothing worse than you being out there on a hot day or your team being out there and there's a breakdown. And you know this from personal experience. We've all been through it. It is worth spending the money to have the best equipment because if you have team members that you're paying, they are sitting there burning cash while that piece of equipment is down or you're waiting, somebody's fixing it. The team's watching them fix it. We believe the equipment is actually the cheap part of the business. The expensive part of the business is your time or your team's time. And so you optimize for that. You buy the best equipment that will last, that you can get parts for, that you can get fixed quickly so that you're not burning your time and your team's time when you're paying them to do nothing because you have breakdowns. So we find it's critical to buy the best equipment. Just spend the money. You will never regret it. We've also come to learn the goal is the same everything. And let me explain. You want all the same trucks. You want all the same mowers. You want all the same handhelds. You want everything to be the same. Now, I will tell you that in our case, we will use different types of trucks for the type of service offering. So as an example, we might use Ford trucks. We might use Dodge ProMasters. We might use Isuzu MPRs. but we're a bigger business and we're going to use a specific type of truck for a specific part of the business. But when we decide on a truck, that is the truck. We're not running Ford and Dodge and Chevy and all the different brands. We're not running lots of different models. And this is a luxury you have as you get bigger. In the beginning, you just got to buy whatever you can afford. But what I'd encourage you to think about for the long term that we have tested significantly is there are real returns and rewards by going all in on one type of equipment, one type of truck. Now, why would this be? It's because the team learns one way to use the equipment. We'll use a mower as an example. You don't have to train the team on a variety of different mowers. That's a little thing, but it adds up over time. Your team goes faster, they're more productive. It's beneficial to have the same equipment from purely a training standpoint. But it's more than that. We're buying the equipment that our favorite vendor stocks in abundance and stocks parts for in abundance. So by buying the same type of equipment, we can have less backups or parts in our inventory, and those parts will fix all of the equipment versus having to stock lots of different parts for lots of different equipment. If you personally or your team fixes your trucks and equipment at times, and specifically equipment, that's beneficial to have the parts, but also they only have to learn how to repair one type of equipment. So there's training benefits, there's repair benefits, there's all kinds of benefits that come from having one type of truck, one type of equipment where possible. I'll tell you, I think everybody thinks equipment is cool, but I will promise you that making money, and a lot of it, is way cooler. So what I would encourage you to do is in the early days, and as you're really working to grow this business, be very careful not to overbuy. Having been in this business a really long time and having lots of friends that have built really cool businesses, the thing that gets most of us in trouble is we buy cool equipment for the new big account we won. I like to use the example of maybe you've sold some clients on doing aeration and you go and buy an aerator. Whereas you could have just rented it at first and kept that money in your pocket to spend on growing the business. So be really careful not to overbuy an equipment, meaning you buy the cool equipment too soon, or you buy equipment that is optimal for a small number of properties in hopes that eventually you win a lot more of those properties. So the example would be buying an oversized mower for a few properties that can handle that big of a deck, when you'd be better off buying a smaller piece of equipment that is efficient on the majority of the properties, but somewhat inefficient on your biggest properties. And that's okay right now, because the name of the game is to preserve your money. Because the best way to spend your money is on getting somebody to help you, or building the team, or doing marketing to get more business. And so be really careful. That is, over all these years, that is an area where I've seen a lot of people really set themselves back by several years because they overspent on trucks and equipment and got way behind. The other top level thing I would be thinking about is it's not just about equipment, it's about efficiency. As I mentioned a minute ago, your people are your biggest expense. So if you look at where your money goes, you have money coming in and you have money going out. If you look at the money that leaves your business, it's going to pay you to do the work, and it's going to pay anyone on your team that is doing the work. That is the biggest expense of the business. And so all of your thinking when it comes to organizing your business or picking the trucks and equipment or how you set up your trucks and equipment and trailers is around efficiency. If your people are your biggest expense, how can we save them the most amount of time? It goes back to why I would buy commercial, why I would buy the same types of equipment, why I would have one type of equipment so that I can have parts in my warehouse or office or garage so that I can fix the equipment, because it's all about getting your team and yourself back to work as fast as you can, because that brings down your costs, your expenses. And so really thinking about this efficiency is critical. So how do you modify your truck beds? How do you modify your trailers to be incredibly efficient? And I'll tell you, there are lots of great videos on YouTube from guys in the field that have great setups, have great examples of how to set up your trucks and trailers. I'd encourage you to watch them. My goal here is to give you the top level things to think about, and then you go find what they're talking about. Like what's the best mower sold in your market? Because not all the brands are sold in every market. What's the best trailer setup for your market? And go watch those individuals. It truly varies around the country. And so I just want to give you the top level thinking, and then you go find the specifics. So modifying your truck beds, modifying your trailers have been massive wins for us. Eliminating trailers as much as we could out of the business, which is why we use ProMasters, why we use NPRs. Those are more expensive. They're luxuries you might afford as the business gets a little bit bigger and more profitable. Those things just add to your profits, and they simplify the business, and they take some safety risk out of the business. You would also be thinking about enclosed versus an open trailer. If you can leave a lot of your equipment in your trailer and you don't have to load and unload every single day, that's payroll you're not spending that pays and allows you to have a better set of equipment or a better business. The ability to stock parts on a truck, the ability to pre-roll weed eater line and keep it on the truck. These are all examples of efficiency. So you think about your setup. How do I need to build this out so we can be as ridiculously successful? Why do we have to roll or spool weed eater line in the field? Couldn't that be done in advance? And as an example, what if you had high school individuals or individuals that are more affordable come in, pre-roll weed eater line for you, fill your trucks, mix your fuel, fuel the equipment, sharpen the blades, change the blades. There are all types of things of that sort that you can get off your plate for relatively little money, or get off the plate of the individuals that are so unbelievably hard to find. It's so hard to find great people to help you do the work in the field, but it's easier to find somebody to do those activities. So how can you get to a place where Joe, the guy that you work with who's awesome, and it's hard to find another Joe, is never changing blades, never maintaining equipment, never mixing fuel, never sharpening blades. I might have said that already. Never doing any of those things. All he's doing is billing time. That's an example of efficiency. Speaking of efficiency gained through finding great people to help you do the little things, the thing I've learned, we get in business because we say we don't want to work for someone else. We want freedom. And then we build a cage around us. And that cage is our business. It traps us. It consumes us. Getting off the truck, getting out of the field, letting other people help us do the work, it gets us out of that cage. I hope you'll do both. Optimize for the best truck, the best equipment, the best setup, but also find great people and let them help you do the work and trust them. You might love working in the field, but I promise you, you will never look back and say, I am so glad I built a business that doesn't give me any options or any freedom. I assure you, if you look back and say, hey, I built a great business and I have some great trusted people around me who can help me do the work that allows me to have a life when I want a life and allows me to work in the field when I want to work in the field, allows me to work on the business when I want to work on the business, that's the ideal. You'll never regret it. So let's say you're in the camp of, I love doing the work, but I also would really like to get more help so I can build my business a little bit bigger and so that I don't have to do it all myself. And if that is challenging, and it is, I want to share some ideas with you on how you fix this problem, how you get out of the field. What I've found is it's usually several problems. You're stuck because you don't have the cash to hire somebody else that would let you get out. Or you think you have the cash, but you're worried that you're going to hire somebody and then you're going to go into the slow season, and how are you going to afford them? And you sure don't want to lay them off. That wouldn't be fair. Will you have enough work? Like you hire them, things look good now, but will the work continue to come in? Is there going to be a recession? Is the economy going to turn down? Is something bad going to happen and you're not going to be able to afford this person? So maybe next year you'll do it. And it constantly is the ball's kicked down the road. And also, let's say you did get freed up. you're not 100% sure what to even do with your time. Like, it feels productive to keep earning money being out there doing the work yourself. And so if now you're freed up, well, like, what are my next steps? How do I even go get new clients? How do I make this thing go faster? And I believe, from having done this, again, a long time, these are the things that hold us back. So I want to address these. I want to show you how to solve each of these problems. I'm going to give you the how, but I want to make this real because I have so many friends who have stayed in the field or partially in the field for so long. And when they finally get out, they're like, why didn't I do that 5 years ago? This is so much better. If you can hire someone for $20 an hour and you're doing the work, that means you're only worth $20 an hour to the business. And I'm confident you're not worth $20 an hour. I'm confident you're worth far more. $20 an hour is roughly $40,000 a year. Really think about that. If you could pay somebody $20 an hour, $18 an hour, $30 an hour, and you're doing that, that's all you're actually making. That is what you're worth to the business. If you were to get hurt, if you have kids and they get sick, if you have parents and something happens and you need to help them, and you are the individual in the field and the business is dependent on you, the business stalls. You don't have a business. You have a job. A real business takes care of you, even when you need time off. What you have is something that's incredibly fragile. If anything happens, it could all end. The income you depend on to take care of your family or yourself or your future family or whatever it is you want could all disappear. Maybe it's not probable, but I have seen it over and over again. And I'm sure you've seen the stories as well. Stuff happens. And if you're gone for 2 months or a month from your business, it's literally over. Lastly, think about this. This is the really cool thing about getting to live the life that you get to live, that most people don't have this opportunity. So a way to make money, a nice income, to have a great life, and also have freedom is to think about this concept of leverage. So think about it in this, like, most simple terms. If you hire somebody for $20 an hour and you resell them for $60 an hour, so you pay them $20, say you have $20 in expenses to run the business, buy equipment, buy trucks, and you make $20. We're just keeping it real simple. If you were to have 10 people that you pay $20 an hour and you sell their time for $60, and you only bill them out 30 hours a week, you'll make $6,000 a week for you. That's leveraged. Leverage is I hire someone and I rent them to my client for 40, 30, 20 hours a week. And the spread, the leverage, is what you make. With just 10 individuals and you doing none of the work in the field, $6,000 a week after expenses. It's not a perfect example, but I want to make a point. Multiply that by how many weeks you're going to bill a year. Is it 48? Is it 40? Is it 50? 50 times 6,000 a week, money coming to you, that's a great life. You can build a really great, small, highly profitable business. How is that not better than you or I being stuck in the truck in the field 55 hours a week doing the work? Once again, no one ever looks back in 5 years and says, I am so glad that I never got to have any freedom and flexibility in life. I'm so glad that I worked every Saturday. I'm so thankful that I missed my kids' games and I argued with my spouse all the time because we were never taking vacations and I was never there and I missed all the dinners. How is that the ideal? And I'm just trying to be like super real about this because after 2 decades of being in the trades and knowing so many individuals, I'll say it one last time, I have never met a single individual that hasn't said when they got to live a different version of life and they didn't have to do all the work, I sure wish I could go back to the old days. Everybody says the same thing. Why didn't I do that 5 years earlier? So how do you do this? In a lot of ways, it's relatively simple. You don't need a massive team. You don't need a huge bank account. You just need a plan. And here's how I recommend you think about it. Let's say you might have multiple crews and you can apply everything I'm saying to the fact that you have multiple crews. But let me just use a simple example. It's just you out there doing all the work. You're starting to get busier and you're thinking, I need some help. So you go out and you hire an individual. Let's use a lawn mowing example. I just need somebody to walk behind the mower. I'm going to drive the truck. I'm going to do the line trimming. I'm going to do the edging. He or I will do the blowing. You get the idea. You could apply this to any service. And so I'm just going to find a person that's fairly affordable to do that. I'll do all the bigger stuff. What I'd encourage you to do is think about it differently. Don't hire what you'd call a worker or a laborer or somebody to just walk behind the mower. Hire a person that could be a lead or a foreman. You may not get it right at first, but give it a shot. So in other words, what you're doing is your helper will cost you a little bit more money, but this helper could drive a truck. This helper could run the line trimmer. This helper could do all the things that you're going to keep doing when you hire a less expensive individual to just walk behind the mower. You're hiring somebody that could do your job. Okay? You have immediately, if you do this and it works out, you have immediately hired someone that will work with you that you will now train to do things the way you want them done, who could, if tomorrow anything happens and you can't be on that truck, can still run the crew. And when you fill up this crew, you can split off from this individual and run 2 trucks. And then you can get him a helper, or you can get yourself a helper. And this is how you keep growing the business. So the way I would do this, I would not hire what you'll call a laborer or a worker. I would hire a lead or a foreman. You'll pay a little more money, but it is so worth it in the long run. I would run the truck with them. You're in the driver's seat for some amount of time, not too long. Then you flip seats. This individual is now the driver. You're riding in the passenger seat. And eventually, they run the job. You're the guy walking behind the mower in my analogy here. You train them at first, but eventually they're in the driver's seat. And then you think of yourself as a coach. You're not nitpicking, you're not micromanaging, you're advising. Based on what I've experienced over the years, based on what I've learned, here's the faster way I've found to do this. Why don't you give it a try and let me know? Or maybe you'll find a faster way and that's the direction we'll go. But you're more of a coach having a discussion about what you've learned and you're showing them best practices. But all those best practices can be challenged because we're going to figure out the most efficient way to run this crew. But the idea is you're in the passenger seat and to a degree, you're working for them. And when you approach it like that, they get trained fast. So then, when that crew is full, you split off to your own truck. And now who do you hire? You hire another lead or another foreman. They either work with you, which I would suggest, or they work with this other individual. And then you train that one up. In a couple weeks, you flip seats, you're the passenger again. This is how you scale this. But what almost everybody does is they just hire workers. They don't hire their next person because that person's going to cost X number of dollars more per hour. Who cares? That is money well spent. So it's really that simple. It couldn't be more simple. So the problem is, okay, well, great. How do I pay for this person? I'm not going to go into all the details, but I'm going to give you the list of how you pay for this person right now. Most companies, and you can look at other videos I have or other videos other people have, most of us, when we start and our businesses are smaller, we underprice. You've probably heard it before, but you probably need to increase your prices. We've all done it. I have been the biggest offender because I did not know how to price. I didn't know what a fair price was. I didn't even know what my future expenses in the business were going to be. There was no way I could know. I was new to the business, just like maybe you're new to the business. We were just wrong. We all do it. And so there comes a point where we start to realize, wait a second, if I'm going to scale this, I'm going to need more trucks, more equipment. Someday I'll need an office. Then I'll need somebody working in the office. They're not going to be billing time. And you just go down this list and you start to realize, like, I'm not charging enough to be able to pay for all those people. And then I hear you need workers' comp and insurance rates are going up on trucks. Like, how do I pay for this? Pricing. And so generally, one of the very first steps is to make sure that you're pricing accurately. Watch the other videos on this topic. But be really aware, this is probably an issue. And by raising your prices, it will make it so much easier. The analogy I love to give is if you're covering all your expenses and you're not losing money, if you raise your price $1, that dollar is pure profit. There's no 50% expenses coming out of that dollar. It's all profit. So small price increases can add a lot of profit to the business that gives you the ability to hire people. The other one is, and I've got videos on this as well, get paid fast. So what happens is you're a bank. You're currently loaning money out to your clients. So in other words, if you don't get paid as soon as you do the work or in advance, and they owe you, let's say $100, you are a bank loaning them $100. That's $100 you don't have right now to upgrade your equipment or get another client or pay for somebody to help you. And so if on average you've got $5,000 or $10,000 you're always waiting on, and it's always that balance, like that's kind of your average balance, that's your money. You just need to get it back so that because when you get it back, you'll now have the confidence and the money to go hire someone. So it's price increases, it's getting paid really fast, so you have the money immediately to pay an individual to help you. And there's others, but the next one I would say is as soon as you get freed up, you'll be shocked at how much more money you generate for the business. And this, I'll admit, is a bit of a leap of faith, but I always see the same story. When you get freed up, several things are going to happen. You're going to have all this new time. And with this new time, you're going to be able to get serious about finding new clients. You're going to start answering your phone faster, and you're going to realize, wow, all those missed calls were lost business. And if we answer the phone like that, or respond to text messages really fast, or respond to emails really fast, we win 50% more business. And that's not an exaggeration. The whole name of the game is speed. The faster you call someone back, if you answer the call live, I mean, you're in a winning position. If you return a text fast, you're going to win so much more business. These are not long sales cycles, meaning people don't go out and get a quote and think about this for 2 months. They get a quote and want it off their to-do list now. They want to buy now. And so as soon as you're freed up and you're responding, you're going to win so much more business. As soon as you're freed up and you're going out and turning estimates and giving them the estimate the same day, you're going to win so much more business without even bringing in a single additional lead. But now you're also going to have all this time to actually figure out how to get a lot of new leads, to go out on the web and set up your company in Nextdoor and Yelp and Google and work on all. You can find videos, and I'll talk about all this stuff on this channel as well, but you can find all these videos that will show you how to do that stuff. And the next thing you know, it's like, okay, 1 more lead this week, 2 more next week. They just slowly start trickling in because you're doing all these little things. As soon as your mind focuses on the problem of marketing or getting new business, you will be shocked at how much more money comes into business. You will be shocked how much money you've been accidentally pushing away. What if you just do check-in calls with your existing clients? What if you go out and look at their properties and knock on the door or leave a note on the door and then call them and say, hey, by the way, while we were out, in fact, let me text you a picture, show you what we saw today. This might be something you want to get taken care of. We can help you if you need help. Otherwise, just want to make sure you knew about it. Just think about that list of things you could do that would drive additional business. Or another way, the way to think about this, let's say you have a team member that's 20 an hour, and we're not going to worry about taxes and all that. Just want to keep this really simple. They cost you 20 an hour. If you sold 4 extra $200 jobs a week, that's $800. They're fully paid for. Like just that one activity. And based on what I've seen and what I've experienced, you will do better than that. If you were to just sell 1.5 new clients a month that generate $2,000 a year in work, that person's paid for. Think about that math. If you were to get freed up and you were to go all in, talking to your existing clients, talking to new clients, asking for referrals, doing a bunch of marketing stuff that you've never had time to do, answering the phone, if you were to do all that, could you get 1.5 extra clients a month? How could you not? That person would be paid for. So I agree, it's a bit of a leap of faith here, but we all have had to make that leap, and it will work out. And if it doesn't work out, as crappy as this is, you can let that person go, and it will not destroy your life, and it will not destroy theirs. Because I promise you, there is a company like mine desperately looking for more people. And if you have a good person and you fire them, I will hire them tomorrow. And so will a bazillion other companies. It's not as though you're going to be letting someone go that will not find another job. They will find another job. No problem. And they can get it tomorrow. And so that is worst case. You have very little risk here. So if you were out of the field, do you believe you could do these things? Could you watch my videos and videos from other people that have been in this business for a long time and observe what are they doing from a marketing standpoint, and could you just copy that? I believe you can. I encourage you to pick a date, write it down, and this is the date that you're going to get off the truck. I would love it to be this year for you. If it can't, make it spring of next year and capitalize on that spring selling season where you are available to bring in as much work as absolutely possible. You don't want to be on the truck during spring, or you barely want to be on the truck. What you want is to have your people in place that can help you do the work so you can capitalize on that spring rush. So you set your date and then you work backwards. How much money do I need to come in? Additional money do I need each week to get freed up? How many jobs or clients does that mean I need to sell? I gave you an example of that earlier. Who do I need to hire? Where am I going to find them? And what would I need to train them on? And do I need to raise prices? Do I need to now start getting paid by credit card? Do we need to start billing in advance? What are those things we need to do? It's pretty simple. Just jot down that list, put a date on it, work backwards and say, okay, by this date, I need to have done this, and then I need to do this, and then I need to do this. But put it on the calendar and make it real. You don't have to build a giant business. It doesn't have to be $1 million business or a $10 million business. It can be a great, small, profitable business. The game is we want to build businesses that let us do the work we want to do. We don't want to be trapped. And we want to get to live a life that we want to live. Maybe a life we didn't think was even possible for ourselves. We all say we don't want to work for anyone. We want freedom. We say we're building businesses, but in reality, we're building giant cages around ourselves. By accident, we become the bosses we never wanted to work for, and we work at companies we never wanted to work at because we get trapped. Dial in the equipment, dial in the trucks, buy all the best stuff, but also dial in the team. The equipment is way cooler when you don't have to sit on it 55 hours a week in 100-degree temperatures. Or you don't have to ride in it when it's -5 degrees in the middle of a snowstorm and you haven't slept for 30 hours. When you apply everything I've talked about and you get freed up, you might say, I don't know what to do now. I don't know how to grow this business and pay for these people. Watch this.